As I stood at the podium accepting my award for Financial Executive of the Year, I couldn't help but think about how far I'd come from that little girl who was never quite good enough. My name is Margaret Anderson, and this is my story of finding my own path to success. The memory of my childhood home in suburban Connecticut is still vivid in my mind. A sprawling colonial house filled with educational toys and learning materials everywhere you looked. My parents, Richard and Victoria Anderson, weren't just invested in child development. They were obsessed with it.
Richard, look at this new cognitive development theory I found. We need to implement this with Margaret right away.
My mother's enthusiasm echoed through our house as she waved yet another parenting magazine in my father's face.
Victoria, don't you think we might be overdoing it? She's only 3.
Nonsense. These are crucial developmental years. We can't waste a single moment.
I remember sitting there with flashcards scattered around me, trying to grasp basic arithmetic, while other toddlers my age were simply playing with blocks. Despite their tireless efforts, I developed at a completely normal pace. I walked when I was supposed to walk, talked when I was supposed to talk, and showed no signs of being the prodigy they'd hoped for. But instead of accepting this, my parents viewed me as their first failed experiment. Everything changed dramatically when my sister Alexandra was born. I was 3 years old, and suddenly our house transformed into what felt like a combination of a research laboratory and a gifted child boot camp. Mom had even taken specialized courses in early childhood development by then, determined not to make what she called the same mistakes she'd made with me. The contrast in how they approached raising Alexandra was stark and unmistakable. Where I had regular toys, Alexandra had educational development tools. Where I had picture books, Alexandra had cognitive enhancement materials. Every milestone became a celebration. Her first words came early. She walked before her peers, and she could solve puzzles meant for older children. The true sanctuary in my childhood was my grandparents' house, just 3 blocks away. Grandpa Henry and Grandma Rose Mitchell became my refuge from the constant pressure and comparisons at home. My grandparents' home was everything our house wasn't: warm, relaxed, and filled with unconditional love. Every Sunday afternoon, I would sit on Grandma Rose's lap while she read stories to both Alexandra and me, treating us exactly the same.
Both of my granddaughters are precious gifts, each special in their own unique way.
Grandma would say this while giving us each a homemade chocolate chip cookie. I can still remember how these simple moments made me feel whole again. One particular Sunday stands out in my memory. Mom had been especially critical of my kindergarten art project the day before, comparing it unfavorably to Alexandra's preschool drawings.
Rose, you don't understand modern parenting methods. Alexandra shows exceptional talent. We need to nurture that. Margaret is, well, she's just average.
I pretended to be absorbed in my cookie, but every word stung like a paper cut.
Victoria, that's enough.
Grandpa's voice carried an authority I'd never heard before.
Children need love and acceptance, not constant evaluation. They're not science experiments.
The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. I remember Dad shifting uncomfortably in his chair while Mom's face turned red with indignation.
You're from a different generation. You don't understand the importance of early achievement in today's competitive world.
As my parents and grandparents argued, Alexandra and I sat side by side on the porch swing outside, sharing the rest of our cookies. Even at 4 years old, she seemed to sense something was wrong.
Why is Mommy always mad at you?
I didn't know how to answer my little sister's innocent question. Instead, I just broke my cookie in half and shared it with her, just as Grandma had taught us. Elementary school brought its own set of challenges. I was a solid B student with occasional A's, which I thought was perfectly fine. But every report card became another opportunity for disappointment in our household. The science fair in 5th grade was a turning point I'll never forget. I had spent weeks building a working model of a hydroelectric dam, complete with running water and tiny spinning turbines. The morning of the fair arrived, but my parents never showed up. They were at Alexandra's piano recital across town. My project won first place, but the blue ribbon felt hollow without anyone there to share it with.
We're here, sweetheart. Show us this amazing dam of yours.
Grandpa and Grandma had come rushing in, slightly out of breath, just as the judges were finishing their rounds. Grandpa took dozens of photos while Grandma hugged me tightly.
We are so proud of you, Margaret. This is remarkable engineering for someone your age.
That evening, when I got home clutching my blue ribbon, Mom barely glanced up from helping Alexandra practice her scales.
Oh, that's nice, honey. Did you hear? Alexandra's piano teacher says she might be ready for her first competition soon.
The real divide between Alexandra and me became glaringly obvious when it was time for her to start school. Unlike me, who attended Lincoln Elementary with all the neighborhood kids, Alexandra got a very different treatment.
We have wonderful news. Alexandra has been accepted into Hawthorne Academy for exceptional children.
Mom's announcement at dinner made me choke on my milk. Hawthorne was that prestigious private school on the other side of town, the one with marble columns and a performing arts center that looked like a concert hall.
They rarely accept children so young, but they were extremely impressed with her test scores.
I pushed my peas around my plate, already knowing what would come next. The endless stream of expenses that would be justified as investing in Alexandra's future. Every minor challenge Alexandra faced was met with an immediate solution that usually involved opening her parents' wallet.
This math homework is too hard. I don't want to do it.
Sweetheart, if you finish your work, we can go get that new electronic keyboard you wanted.
It didn't take long for my sister to master this game. Soon, every achievement, no matter how small, came with a price tag.
If I get an A on this test, can I get the new MacBook Pro? My old laptop is so slow.
Meanwhile, I sat at our kitchen table, doing my homework alone, with no rewards, no special attention, and certainly no new electronics. The most painful memory of this period came when I was 13. I had just finished redecorating my room, the larger of our 2 bedrooms, with posters of my favorite indie bands and photos of my friends from school. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was my space, my sanctuary.
I want Margaret's room.
Alexandra's demand came during dinner one evening, her voice carrying that entitled tone she'd perfected over the years.
Mine is too small for all my music equipment and study materials. I need more space for my creativity to flourish.
I waited for our parents to shut down this ridiculous request. Instead, they exchanged that look I'd grown to dread.
You know, that actually makes sense. Alexandra does need more space for her piano and all her academic materials.
But that's my room. I've had it since I was little.
Margaret, don't be selfish. Your sister needs the space more than you do. You hardly spend any time studying in your room anyway.
The next day, while I was at school, they moved all my things into Alexandra's smaller room. When I came home, I found my sister already settled in my old room, her expensive equipment taking up the space where my bed used to be. I stood in the doorway of my new smaller room, tears streaming down my face, staring at my belongings crammed into a space that could barely contain them.
They did what?
When I called Grandma that evening to tell her what happened, her voice shook with anger.
This has gone too far, Margaret. Your parents are making serious mistakes.
That night, as I lay in my bed in the unfamiliar room, listening to Alexandra practicing piano through the thin walls, I made a promise to myself. Someday, I would create a space of my own where no one could push me out. As high school graduation approached, I had spent countless hours researching colleges, writing applications, and planning my future. My grades were solid, and I had a strong list of extracurricular activities, including being treasurer of the student council. That fateful Sunday dinner started like any other, with Grandma and Grandpa joining us for Mom's traditional pot roast.
So, Margaret, tell us about your college plans. Where are you thinking of applying?
I straightened in my chair, excited to finally share the research I'd done. I've been looking at Riverside University's business program. Their finance department is highly ranked, and they have an amazing internship program with major firms.
Oh, about that.
Mom's interruption came with that dismissive tone I knew too well.
Your father and I have been discussing this, and we won't be able to help with your college tuition. We need to save all our resources for Alexandra's education.
She's got a real shot at Juilliard or Yale, and that's not going to be cheap.
The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel my dreams crumbling around me.
Have you completely lost your minds?
Grandpa's fork clattered against his plate.
We have to be realistic here. Alexandra is gifted. She has real potential. Margaret is. Well, Margaret is ordinary.
She can get a job after high school or take some community college classes if she saves up.
How dare you dismiss your own daughter like this?
I couldn't take it anymore. Shoving my chair back from the table, I ran upstairs, tears already streaming down my face. Behind me, I could hear the continued argument, my parents' cold logic clashing with my grandparents' outrage. A gentle knock came at my door 15 minutes later.
Margaret, sweetheart, may we come in?
Grandma and Grandpa entered, sitting on either side of me on the small bed.
Your grandmother and I have made a decision.
We're going to pay for your college education. All of it.
But that's too much money.
Nonsense. We've been saving for years, and this is exactly what that money is for. Investing in a bright future.
College life at Riverside University was like stepping into a different world. Away from my parents' constant comparisons and criticism, I discovered who I really was. The business program suited me perfectly. My analytical thinking earned praise from professors, and I found I had a natural talent for understanding market trends and investment strategies.
Ms. Anderson, your analysis of emerging market patterns is remarkably insightful. Have you considered applying for our advanced finance track?
It was the first time an educator had seen potential in me, and it felt transformative. Every Sunday evening, I would call Grandma and Grandpa to update them on my progress. I hadn't spoken to my parents since leaving for college, and they hadn't tried to contact me either.
Margaret, you won't believe what's happening with Alexandra.
Grandma's voice carried an unusual mix of concern and irony one evening during our weekly call.
She got into Juilliard, just as your parents wanted. But once she got there, away from their constant supervision, she just stopped caring about everything.
As I listened as Grandma described my perfect sister's dramatic fall from grace, Alexandra had discovered parties, boys, and the freedom to do whatever she wanted.
Your mother called us in tears yesterday. The dean's office sent them a warning letter. Alexandra's barely attending classes, and when she does show up, she's either late or unprepared for her recitals.
What are Mom and Dad doing about it?
Oh, they're beside themselves. They've tried everything, threatening to cut off her allowance, promising her a new grand piano if she brings her grades up. They even flew to New York twice to talk some sense into her.
But Alexandra just laughs it off, says she's too talented to be constrained by academic requirements.
The irony wasn't lost on me. After years of giving Alexandra everything she wanted, my parents had created someone who didn't know how to handle responsibility or cope with real challenges.
Well, it finally happened. Alexandra got expelled from Juilliard, failed almost every class, and had too many disciplinary infractions to count.
I could hardly believe it. The golden child, the prodigy, the one who was supposed to bring glory to the family name, kicked out of music school after just one semester. During my senior year at Riverside, opportunity knocked in the form of Patricia Chen, a guest speaker from Sterling Financial Group. Her lecture on innovative investment strategies captivated me.
The future of finance isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding human behavior and market psychology.
After her lecture, I gathered my courage and approached her with some questions about her market analysis methods.
You have an interesting perspective, Margaret. Have you considered applying for our junior analyst program?
2 months later, I found myself walking into Sterling Financial's gleaming headquarters as their newest junior investment analyst. The same week, I moved in with Grandma and Grandpa until I could find my own place. The unexpected reunion with my parents happened on a crisp autumn morning at Wilson's Market. I was comparing organic apples when I heard my mother's voice.
Margaret, is that really you?
I turned to find both my parents standing there, looking older than I remembered. Mom was clutching her shopping cart like a lifeline.
We've missed you so much. Why don't you come over for dinner sometime?
Part of me wanted to decline, to remind them of how they had dismissed me years ago. But curiosity won out. Sure? When? The dinner was surreal. The same house, the same dining room table, but everything felt different. Alexandra slouched in her chair, scrolling through her phone, while our parents couldn't stop praising my job at Sterling.
Investment analyst at Sterling Financial. We're so proud of you, honey. Thomas Wilson told me they only hire the best and brightest.
I could see Alexandra's knuckles turning white around her fork. She had just quit another retail job, her 4th that year.
It's just pushing numbers around. Anyone could do it.
I bit back a retort, remembering Patricia's words about emotional intelligence being as important as analytical skills. Life fell into an unexpected rhythm. I excelled at Sterling, earning recognition for my innovative approaches to market analysis, while maintaining a careful distance from my family through occasional dinners. Everything shifted again one Sunday evening when Alexandra burst through the front door during our family dinner, dragging along a tall, impeccably dressed man.
Everyone, this is William, my boyfriend.
William was polite and well-spoken, clearly from old money. His family owned several luxury hotel chains across the East Coast.
See, Margaret? Some of us don't need to work ourselves to death to have a good life.
I noticed how she emphasized work like it was a dirty word.
Isn't it wonderful? William comes from such a prestigious family. The Blackwoods have been in Forbes magazine several times.
I focused on my dinner, remembering how that morning I'd closed a major investment deal that would help dozens of middle-class families secure their retirement.
Alexandra tells me you work in finance, Margaret.
Yes, I'm an investment analyst at Sterling Financial.
Sterling? Impressive. They're handling my family's hotel expansion project. In fact, I think I've seen your name on some of the analysis reports.
Can we talk about something else? This business talk is so boring.
I caught a slight frown crossing William's face at Alexandra's dismissal of his interest in finance. That night, as I drove back to my apartment, I received an unexpected text from William.
I apologize if this is inappropriate, but I'd love to get your professional opinion on some investment opportunities I'm considering. Would you be willing to meet for coffee?
A few months later, my hard work at Sterling Financial paid off in a way I never expected. I discovered a critical error in one of our major investment portfolios, one that could have cost our clients millions. I spent 3 sleepless nights analyzing data and preparing a comprehensive report. When I presented my findings to the board, the room fell silent.
Miss Anderson, this is remarkable work. How did you catch this?
I noticed inconsistencies in the risk assessment models. If we redistribute these investments now, we can not only avoid losses, but potentially increase returns by 14%. My strategy worked better than anyone expected. Within 6 months, the restructured portfolio showed a 16% increase in returns. Clients were thrilled and Sterling's reputation soared. Then came the day that changed everything. I was called into the boardroom expecting another routine meeting.
Margaret, we're creating a new position of Executive Investment Director, and we want you to fill it.
I nearly dropped my coffee cup. Executive Investment Director would put me in charge of all investment strategies for the firm. The first people I called were Grandma and Grandpa. They were overjoyed.
Oh, sweetheart, we knew you had it in you all along.
I decided to share the news with my family over dinner. To my surprise, they seemed genuinely excited.
This calls for a celebration. You must have a party.
I was thinking of reserving a private room at Le Bistro.
No, have it here. Your father and I will help organize everything. It will be much more personal, more special.
Her enthusiasm was infectious, and I found myself agreeing. Over the next week, I transferred money to my mother's account for the party expenses. What I didn't know was that Alexandra had been secretly meeting with William again, despite their previous breakup. She had been working on her own plan for a grand announcement. The evening of the party arrived, and I walked into my parents' house wearing my favorite navy blue Chanel suit, my first major purchase after my promotion. The house was beautifully decorated with fresh flowers on every surface. Family members were already mingling, champagne glasses in hand. Grandma and Grandpa gave me warm hugs, while Aunt Helen kissed my cheek. Alexandra was holding court in the living room, wearing a stunning white designer dress. Once all the guests had arrived, we gathered around the large dining table. I stood up, champagne glass in hand, ready to make my announcement. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight.
Oh, sweetie, let me.
Mom jumped up, cutting me off mid-sentence. Her voice was almost singing with excitement, but not for the reason I expected.
We've gathered here today to celebrate a wonderful occasion. Our beautiful Alexandra and William are engaged to be married.
The room erupted in gasps and congratulations. Alexandra pretended to blush while showing off a massive diamond ring. I fell back into my chair, my champagne glass nearly slipping from my numb fingers. This couldn't be happening. The party I had paid for, my promotion celebration, had been hijacked for Alexandra's engagement announcement.
Don't you dare make a scene.
Dad's whispered warning came with an iron grip on my wrist.
If you ruin this for your sister, we'll cut you off completely. No inheritance, no family, nothing. Sit down and smile.
I yanked my hand away from his grip and stood up. No, everyone needs to know the truth. The room fell silent. Alexandra's smug smile froze on her face. This party was supposed to be celebrating my promotion to Executive Investment Director at Sterling Financial. I paid for everything. The food, the decorations, all of it. My parents took my money and turned my celebration into an engagement party for Alexandra without telling me. Gasps and whispers filled the room. Aunt Helen's hand flew to her mouth in shock.
That's not true. Margaret, stop this nonsense right now.
Show them the invitation, Aunt Helen. What does it say? Aunt Helen fumbled in her purse and pulled out the cream-colored card.
It says, "Join us in celebrating the engagement of Alexandra Anderson and William Blackwood."
What?
William stood up slowly, his face darkening.
You told me this was a family dinner where we'd announce our engagement. You never said anything about stealing your sister's celebration.
Willie, darling, let me explain.
No, I've seen enough.
He turned to me, his expression grave.
I'm sorry, Margaret. I had no idea. And Alexandra, this engagement is off. I won't be part of a family that treats people this way.
Look what you've done.
Alexandra shrieked at me as William walked out.
You've ruined everything. You're just jealous because I found someone and you're still alone.
Jealous? I'm the executive investment director of a major financial firm. I don't need to steal someone else's party or manipulate someone into marriage to feel successful.
That's enough. You've gone too far, Margaret. You're no longer part of this family. Consider yourself disinherited.
Fine by me.
Actually, David, your inheritance won't matter much.
Grandpa's voice boomed across the table as he stood up, Grandma by his side.
We've already changed our will. Everything we have is going to Margaret, the only one in this family with any integrity.
What?
Margaret, there's something else you should know. I'm not well. The doctors found something last month.
My heart stopped. The party drama suddenly felt insignificant.
That's why we've been thinking about family, about what really matters. And we've watched for years as you grew into an amazing woman, despite everything.
6 months later, I sat beside Grandpa's hospital bed, holding his hand while he told me stories about his own struggles when he was young.
You know, I started with nothing too. But I built something meaningful, just like you're doing.
His words inspired me to create the Henry Anderson Educational Foundation, providing scholarships to students who showed promise but lacked family support. A year after the party incident, I received an unexpected visitor at my office. It was Alexandra, looking different, humbled somehow.
I've been in therapy, trying to understand why I always needed to be the center of attention, to be better than everyone else.
I looked at my sister, really looked at her for the first time in years. The polished facade was gone, replaced by something more genuine.
I saw the article about your education foundation. That's really amazing, Margaret.
Thank you. Would you like to get coffee? Over lattes at a small cafe, Alexandra shared her journey of self-discovery.
I've started teaching piano to kids at the community center. Not prodigies, just regular kids who love music. And you know what? I love it.
For the first time, I saw my sister's genuine smile, not the practiced one she'd perfected for recitals. 3 years later, I stood at another podium, this time accepting Sterling Financial's CEO position, the youngest in the company's history. In the audience, Grandma Rose beamed proudly. Beside her sat Alexandra, who now ran a successful music therapy program for underprivileged children. Even our parents had begun their own journey of growth. After months of family therapy, they'd started to understand the damage their perfectionism had caused.
We were so focused on creating perfection that we couldn't see the wonderful daughters we already had.
As I looked out at my family, not perfect, but healing, I thought about how far we'd all come. Today, the Henry Anderson Educational Foundation has helped hundreds of students achieve their dreams. Alexandra's music therapy program has touched countless lives. And me? I found that success isn't about proving your worth to others. It's about believing in yourself and lifting others up along the way. Grandpa's words still echo in my mind, to authenticity and to finding your own path. Now, when I mentor young professionals at Sterling, I tell them my story, not to inspire them to be perfect, but to encourage them to be authentically themselves. Because sometimes the most beautiful symphonies come from embracing all the notes, even the ones that seem out of place.